Welcome back to the Be the CEO of Your Life and Business podcast. I am very happy to be back this week. I'm sorry I missed you last week. I was not feeling well, but I was so proud of your episode that you did by yourself.
It was a weird experience. I was like waiting to be like, right, Laura, and then have you come in, but it didn't happen. So
it is so bizarre, right?
It's bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously there are many, many people who do like solo podcasts.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they talk to themselves.
Well, because this is so natural to us because we've done this for so many years where we just talk to each other every single day. So it just feels more like the two of us to be talking here.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I just wanted to say, I thought your episode was awesome.
Thank you.
You did a really great job, even though that was like a very, very last minute thing. You totally did a great job, took it on, got it done. So I very much appreciated that, but we're back together this week.
Yes.
And this week we're going to talk about what is your word for 2023. Now, for the last couple, have you been choosing a word for the last couple of years?
Yeah.
Because I have. And to be honest, I cannot remember where we first heard this. Was it Simon Sinek?
No, I actually think that this might have been through Beachbody.
Really?
Where, some of the coaches and like the leaders on our team, they were telling us to pick a word, but it could have been Simon Sinek. I mean, I'm sure they got it from someone.
I couldn't remember where we got it from, but for the past couple of years, I've been choosing a word of the year. And a couple of years ago, the first time I did it, my word was intentional. Last year, I didn't stick with it, so I don't even remember what my word was. But this year, there are a couple things when I think back over the year that I want to focus on for 2023. And I remember the first time I did this, when I chose the word intentional, I literally created a digital vision board. Do you remember when I did this? And it was the background on my computer, on my phone. And in the center of the vision board was my word for the year, which was intentional.
Such a good tip, by the way. Such a good tip.
It really was like such a good reminder. That kept me on track all year.
Right.
Because every time I looked at my computer, I saw my word. And the thing that I wanted to focus on for that year was being intentional. And I was. And I have to be honest, I noticed a difference this past year. Not having that thing to focus on, like to choose, like, what you want to be for the year, or what you want to focus on for the year, like being intentional, or we'll talk about what our words are going to be. But I noticed a difference. So I'm definitely choosing. I actually think I have two things that I want to choose for 2023. So if you don't do this, we highly recommend it. It's fun to pick out a word that you want to focus on for the upcoming year. So my first word is going to be communication. And we just had our holiday lunch and we were talking about this over lunch. So I explained to Dawn and Amy why I want to choose this word. I don't feel like I communicated very well this year. I mean, it was fine, like nothing drastic.
Right.
But I feel like I could have been better at, getting back to people timely, and just handling communication with clients and others better. It's not that I wasn't good at it. It's just that it could have been better. And it's something that sticks out to me. So it's something I want to focus on in 2023.
And I love that word. I feel like it could apply in your personal life. It could apply in your business. It's just like something I think that we've also learned over all of the years, that when we have to deal with clients with disputes, normally it's because there's been a breakdown in communication. So it's like communication is so critical. And I think you having that constant reminder every day about that word is going to be really helpful to guide you in your days. It's like how we set ourselves up with our goals and our visions every single day. It's that constant morning reminder to ourselves of like, this is the path that we're supposed to be on, right? For me, my business word of 2023 is going to be confidence. And the reason is because, and Laura like rolls her eyes at me, is because there are times where I'm like, Laura, I need you to listen in on this phone call, or I need you to be copied on this letter, or can you take a look at this? And she's like, why do you do this? Because you sound great. You know what you're talking about. Like the words look great on the piece of paper. I mean, she's like, why don't you have that confidence? And I don't know what it is, but this past year, I think I was challenged. Maybe this is it. I think I was challenged in a way this past year that I have never been challenged in before in my professional career.
Do you
to
mean
date.
like in the type of work that you were handling or?
Yes. And also in the kinds of clients and like the way they expected communication with me or they expected counsel and advice. I think I also surprised myself as to how many people were reaching out for referrals from other colleagues or from clients. And I was like, wait a second, what? Like, you want to come talk
Ridiculous.
to me? I know.
Ridiculous.
She's like laughing at me. I'm like, wait, you want to come talk to me? Really? But it's a limiting belief. This is part of the reason why she jumped ship faster than I did, because I just had this limiting belief of like, can I do this? Like, am I the right person for the job? And I think that this year we've been faced with a lot more challenging issues and transactions and things that have just pushed me just outside my comfort level and have like required a lot of my attention, that I feel like I was like wavering or teetering on my confidence level. And so if I can remind myself in 2023, like, have confidence, remind yourself of like the proof of the work that you've done and proof of the confidence you've had before, and just be mindful of that. I think I'm going to show up better in my interactions with people.
Yeah, I think so. Look, it's natural, right?
Right.
To feel like that. I remember when I was younger, many years ago, I had confidence issues when way back in my career. And I think it's natural. Like, you're not born knowing how to do what we do.
No.
And I think it takes, how long have you been practicing? 10 years?
Almost 10 years. Yeah.
It takes at least that long, I think,
Mhm.
to be really comfortable with, whatever area of law that you are practicing.
Right.
And especially coming from where we came from, and then, going out on our own and having to completely shift roles.
Yeah.
That, could be detrimental to your confidence as well, right? So you're not used to being in that role. So you doubt yourself a lot. Which for me too, when I first went out on my own, I had been practicing for, I think, 18 years, 17 years. And even with all of those years of experience, I was still, worried and nervous. How am I going to do this? Who's going to want to come to me? All those like limiting beliefs. And it's natural, but I think it's great that you recognize it as an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that you're going to work on in the upcoming year.
Yeah.
I think the first step is really recognizing it. That's why I love choosing a word, because you can look back on the year and say, and just look at, personal and professional, like, what did I do this year? How did I do this year? How did I show up this year? Is there anything I need to work on? And then you can make that choice and move forward into the next year with some kind of purpose and goal. Right?
Yeah. And I like how our two words, and I think this is what the words are supposed to be, right? Is that they're supposed to be reflective. They have to take a look back at like what maybe didn't work for you or what did work for you that you want to capitalize on for the coming year. So I like this exercise too. It makes you really like think back to what something that you really want to change, and maybe you weren't thinking about it in that lens. And that single word can help just be that constant reminder somewhere. Put it on a sticky, put it by your computer, put it on your phone, lock screen, wherever it is that it's going to constantly rear its head and make you think of it. And then you'll start acting with that in mind.
And for me, it's not just about business. Communication is like an all around word. Like, I don't love how I communicated with my kids this year. I want to try to have like more patience, listen more, because we're always going. Right? Like, we're always on the run. And I have to be more intentional about focusing on them and communicating with them. Not that I don't communicate with them, because I do, but it's always like my head is always like half in the game, if that makes sense. Like, I'm listening to them and I'm speaking with them, but then I'm thinking about the 5,000 emails that I have waiting in my inbox. And I want to be better at communicating with them. And actually, when I say communication, I mean with them, I mean like listening also. So I have like a business focus and a personal focus, but I actually have two words for 2023. And I think you do too.
Yep.
So my second word is focus. I feel like focus was a serious issue for me this year. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. But I can't focus for long periods of time. And that used to be like my thing. Like I could sit down and I could write motion papers and I could do discovery demands and I could do whatever I had to do and just get it done. And I feel like now it just takes me longer to do things. You just sit down and like we were talking at lunch, like just sit down and write a letter. And it's like, why is this should take me like 15 minutes.
Right.
It's 2 hours later. I've had 55 distractions in between.
Yes.
And so I need to, and I can honestly say, I don't know how I'm going to go about doing this yet. But I need to figure out how I'm going to focus better in 2023.
And I think we've talked about a lot of different tools that can help keep you on track, right? With your time and your management. I don't think that that's the way that you're using the word focus.
No,
though.
it's not a time management issue.
It's not a like toggling between priorities. It's not that. There is definitely, because I feel the same exact way as you, there is a different like version of ourselves that we're tapping into, especially this year, where we had to really break out of the mold that we previously were used to. And it almost feels like we're in the phase of like walking on the bridge from that one part of the island to the next, that we are still on this like wobbly bridge where we can't yet figure out what the groove is for the role that we're supposed to be playing. Not in a bad way, but like, it's like a baby learning how to walk. You just can't seem to get the rhythm just yet.
Yeah.
But I think it has to do with the fact that our role has really evolved in the kind of work that we do. Dawn brought this up too when we were talking to her about that. Not only do we have different work that's more like fast-paced and more immediate in nature, but we have a lot of it in addition to the other very important and time-consuming litigation stuff that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So sometimes we have to toggle between those things. And sometimes that can really alter your focus, that you feel like you are too frenetic in your own brain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's a problem. Not necessarily. I don't like the way it feels. Like when I feel like I am not focusing and I'm not doing the best that I can and showing up the best that I can, I don't like the way that feels. Some people are comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't like the way it feels.
Yeah.
So that's why I need to figure out in 2023 how I'm going to get my focus back.
Yeah.
Because this never used to be a problem for me. I do think that a part of it is what you were saying, like our roles have changed so much, where we're not the workhorses anymore, right? Like we used to go to work, get there, do our stuff and leave. And that was it. And we had all those hours to focus. And now we don't have that because we are not the we are the workhorses,
right?
But we have all these other things. We're running the firm, we're running the business, we're dealing with clients, we're, doing all these different things. The marketing, like everything is on us. Yeah. So I think that I need to find a better way forward in 2023. And I don't know if that means delegating more. We have certain things on our vision board, like hiring an associate and, getting somebody else to help Dawn. So I don't know if that's what that's going to look like in 2023 to help me focus a little bit more on the things that I need to get done. But whatever it's going to be, it's got to be something.
I think it's going to be like a trial by fire.
Yeah.
Is that what's going to work? What's going to make sense? And maybe it's just like, I know I'm coming up with so many analogies, but it's almost like you take off in a plane and now you're going to start to level out and it's going to figure itself out.
I sure hope so.
Right? You're still in the ascent,
Yes.
Katina. For me, my other second word for 2023 is purposeful. And this has a little bit to do with what I talked about last week on the podcast about like always doing things and not just simply being. It's really, really hard for me to turn off that to-do list that's always running in my head.
What did Dawn say before? She was like, I wake up and my to-do list is already
like
tabulating right in front of me.
Rolling in front of her eyes, right?
Yeah.
And It's true. It for me, I always laugh. I say that this is because it's a consequence of our lawyer training. We are always issue spotting. We're like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, well, we got to finish decorating the Christmas tree. We have to write Christmas cards. And then my list just keeps on going of all of the things we have to do for the rest of the year. And it just keeps bogging down my mind to the point where I have caught myself trying to be so efficient in everything I do so that I can accomplish more, or like start checking off those boxes on the to-do list just so I feel like I have some of it under control. Right.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that I find myself filling up my day with this arbitrary to-do list, as opposed to the things that are super meaningful to me, that like align with my values, like spending time with my family and coming home from work and just closing off that chapter of the day. One thing I will say has been super helpful with this just this week alone. We've had such a crazy week this week, and it's been busy for our work days. A lot of new clients coming in, new matters that we've had to talk to, people about. And it's just been a lot happening. And what's been nice though is that I've been in the office 4 out of 5 days. And
Makes
so
a difference.
my drive home has been a little bit of like that reminder to me of my commute back in the day. I'm like starting to unwind a bit, like, okay, I know what I can do tomorrow. I know what I have to get done. And now I'm really looking forward to being home and being with my kids and my husband.
Yeah.
And I can kind of like compartmentalize the two a little better. And I think that's going to help me satisfy this purposeful word going forward in 2023, like being really purposeful, intentional about why I'm doing the things I'm doing, as opposed to just doing things for the sake of doing things.
Yeah. And it's something I realized over the last week when I had the flu, and I literally couldn't do anything. I was
Right.
on the couch. I couldn't get up. And we watched movies. I never watch TV. Like it's ridiculous. Like I don't sit on the couch. Mike will
Right.
say to me, did you see this or whatever in the living room? And I'm like, no, I don't go in there. Like I literally don't go in there. I
Right.
don't sit on the couch. I don't know what's there.
Yeah.
Like I just don't. But I had no choice. And the laundry was piling up and I was literally twitching because of course nobody else could do it. So
Yeah.
it's like piling up. Mike has one arm. He had a shoulder replacement. So it's like
It's one arm.
disaster in our
He
house.
does have two
Right.
arms, but he just can't use one of them.
Right. He only
before
has use,
rumors start going.
Right. He only has use of one arm at this point. So he can't do the laundry or anything like that.
Right.
But we survived.
Yeah.
Like I didn't die because
Yeah.
the laundry wasn't done.
Right.
The kitchen may have been a complete mess and I was sweating going in there because I didn't even want to look at it. The dishes were in the sink. The laundry was piled a mile high, but I actually got to sit down and hang out with the kids,
which is amazing,
and watch a show that we wanted to watch and watch a movie. And, I really need to focus a little more on like being, like you talked about, being purposeful, in the things that I'm spending my time on in 2023.
Yeah.
Also, I think that that's a really good word.
For so many reasons, we have felt this like spiraling of good things happening, but it's like things are getting swept up into that spiral that we think are more important than they really are. And that's, I think, the point that I've gotten to where I was like, is this really important that I organize this right now? Or should I be plopping down and hanging out with the kids?
Yeah.
And I caught myself in those moments. And I think that's really helpful too, to like know that that's what's important to me. What is my purpose right now? What am I supposed to be doing? And what would make me happier than just checking off the box? So I find too, if you check off the box of all the things that you have to do, you regret more what you've missed than if you did what you wanted to do, like hang out with the kids, watch a movie or whatever. You're not regretting not getting all of those other things done. And I'm sure you're going to figure out somewhat or way to accomplish them all.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But I think that choosing a word and taking a look back at this past year, and then looking forward to the next year is really helpful.
Yeah.
So I hope that these tips are helpful. I hope that you actually like think about 2022 for your, how your life went in 2022, business, personal, whatever you
Yeah.
want to think about. And what you want to look like, what you want it to look like in 2023. I think this exercise is helpful. So we hope that this helps you. We thank you for spending time with us, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.